All right, welcome to Ascent Life Live. I'm your host, R. Brandon Long, here with the mission to inspire 1 million people a day to live their best lives and be the best version of themselves. That is what we call living an Ascent Life. Quick update on the show. After this week, we're going to move to a 4 p.m.-ish recording / live version. Booking the 2 p.m. slot was proved difficult, along with the fact that it was literally in the middle of the day. It was in the middle of my work day as well. It's made it hard to stay on task with edits, booking, and all of the things. So thanks for sticking with us here on the show. We are now up on Spotify, along with a handful of other podcast networks as the Ascent Life Podcast, not yet up on Apple Podcasts, so I'll update you once we are live there. In the interim, you can find us on YouTube, of course, and on X, which are the two streaming services of the show. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the show on YouTube. That's at my personal page, R. Brandon Long. And for daily inspiration, follow us on Instagram at Ascent Life. If you are watching live, play along with us and drop your comments, questions in the chat. We'll get to some of those at the end of the show, should time permit. Our guest today is Jodi Graham, Executive Director of Utah Humanities since 2018. Is that correct? Okay, very good. And I have a little bit of your bio on here as well. So has served on the board of Utah Cultural Alliance, the U of U College of Humanities Partnership Board, the U of U Benyon Center Student Directed Programs Committee. That's a long one. And the UVU, this is a fun one. Appomattox Project Advisory Board, which I read is crazy. So, or fun, crazy fun, right? And she's also on the leadership team of, no, this is the one that's crazy fun. The Village Square, Utah. That's the one that I was thinking is crazy fun, right? Because you get all the personalities in that one.
Right,
so,
right.
Anything else you want to add to your bio, Jodi?
Well, it's, I've been the director since 2018, but I actually started working for Utah Humanities in 1996.
I was going to ask you, have you been there the whole time?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I mean, I would have been, except my family moved out of the country for 2 years and then lived in rural Wyoming for 6. So I took an 8-year sabbatical.
Okay.
And then came back. But yeah, 96, which in my head doesn't sound like a long time ago, but it's a long time ago.
But it goes by fast.
It does.
That's a long time.
It is.
So
it is. And I've seen the organization change, and I've seen it through a lot of different phases and experienced a lot of things. But at the core, it's still amazing and does really great work and still tries to improve the lives of people all throughout Utah. So
I want to ask more. Yeah, we'll dive into that. But first, I do an Instagram account of the day, and so this is today. So before we dive in, this is today's Instagram account of the day, and it is the coolest thing I have seen as far as record players go. So this is ATX_record players. They're boutique German-inspired record consoles made in Austin, Texas, by the way. The only way to access purchasing to get info is to join their email list. But look how gorgeous these are. Like, are you freaking kidding me?
Those are crazy.
Yeah. So if you're looking for like the ultimate, I don't know, glam gift to show off your records, these are stunning record players, ATX record players. Follow them on Instagram. And then follow us on Ascent Life, because this is the kind of stuff that I like to find cool, unique. This is high quality craftsmanship, but also, they're not cheap. So
well, that's a nice throwback to a time when, music actually was played on a thing.
On a thing, yes.
I guess your phone is a thing. But no, it's great to see that old cabinetry, and that's where I come from.
My grandma had one, and it's not one of these, but like just the original, whatever they cost back. But that's just what you bought, and it fit records on one side and record player on the other, and it was a piece of furniture. It went in your living room. And I'm like, we need more of that these days. So
cool.
Yeah.
And this is kind of related, but maybe not really. But I remember when my father is an engineer, and he creates all kinds of cool stuff. And I remember we had sort of like the receiver for our radio, but then he built speakers out of old sewer pipes. And so they were taller than I was, and they were painted white. And it's just, I don't know where he put the mechanisms inside of it, but you couldn't.
He built his own speakers?
Yeah, kids couldn't knock them over. We could do all kinds of stuff to it. And
they
were bulletproof. I don't know if he even still has them. He probably does. But yeah, that was pretty cool. It was good stuff. I'm like, I wouldn't even know how to go. If the end of the world came, I'd be useless because I don't know how to build anything. So
So you didn't get that part from
No.
from Pops. Okay.
No, love him. Didn't get that engineer brain as much. I wish that I did, but
You got the humanities brain.
right.
So what is the
Right.
definition? Like, what are people, because you mentioned on the previous podcast we recorded earlier today, was like people move it into the arts kind of.
Sure. And so this is one of those things where if you're not in the humanities, you probably don't care
Yeah.
what the fine distinction is between arts and humanities. And we work together a lot. We're adjacent a lot. I personally feel like the arts are a tool in the humanities toolbox. So the humanities are basically anything that explores what it means to be human, anything's created by humans. I used to get in trouble when I wasn't the boss at Utah Humanities. I would say, well, the easiest way to think about it is the arts do it and the humanities talk about it. So if you're creating, like if you're in the act of creative writing or creating a piece of art or performance, that is the art. But if you want to talk about where the history of it came from, what the impact is, how it relates to our world today, maybe a really clear example is if you go to the Utah Shakespeare Festival in Cedar City, you see the play, and the play is the art. If you go to the seminars in the Grove, before and after, that's the humanities. So that's a really good marriage of arts and humanities. And we've actually funded the Utah Shakespeare Festival, those seminars for a couple of decades.
Yeah, and I
to
learned
keep
on the
those
previous
going.
podcast you were the first grantors to Sundance. for the
Yeah,
festival.
one of the first. Yeah, one of the first grants we made was to Sundance in their first year when
Yeah.
they were just trying to get it set up and established. And this is back, back in the 70s. So this has been a little while.
Been a hot minute.
Been a minute.
Yeah, which I love. I think the arts should question what it means to be a human and get us to question that, and then the humanities sort of document it, I guess, or how does that?
Right, and the humanities really. So the humanities is beautiful, and art does this too. But it takes a look at sort of where we've been, where we are, and where we want to go, and how can we learn from past mistakes that we've made, which of course isn't relative at all right now in the world that we're living in. But it really helps to understand what makes us do the things that we do and why it's okay if you do something different. It's not a judgment call. It's not better or worse. It's just different. And sort of diving into that and understanding it. And I mean, it gets into other areas like literature, philosophy, ethics. Seriously, ethics is a really good thing to be exploring right now.
Yeah.
And what is ethical, to kind of make it a little lighter. I like to share a poster that the University of Utah's Humanities Department created a number of years ago. It said, "Science can tell you how to clone a dinosaur. The humanities can tell you why it might not be a good idea."
Yeah.
And so, and especially with all of the way technology moves so fast,
Yeah.
and it doesn't slow down and it never goes backwards. So how do we manage this rapidly changing world and then technology? And in fact, when the National Endowment for the Humanities was founded in 1965, part of the legislation that was written said that, well, first of all, democracy demands wisdom of its citizens, and that we need the humanities so that we are the masters of our technology, and the technology is not the master of us. And this was in 1965.
Yeah. Okay. AI.
Right.
Like we're this close to that.
Oh, we are.
Flipping.
We are. Yeah.
So how do you prevent that?
Well, that's when you have to talk about it, and you have to take the time to think, well, we have all this opportunity, we have this tool. What does that mean down the road? Ethically, what does that mean if someone gives their permission for this podcast to be recorded and put online? I've given permission for that, but then what if an AI system comes in and takes my image and takes my voice and takes what I say and creates something else out of it that I did not give permission for? So it's all the things about ethics. It's things about in the future, what does it look like? Where are maybe some similar instances where there's been really life-changing technology in the past, and how has that been used, good or bad? And do we regret any of the decisions that we've made with technologies? I'm just thinking,
Are these questions that you answer, or
I
just
see.
put them out there?
This is the beautiful thing about the humanities is I'm not a scholar,
Yeah.
and I'm not an expert, but we know lots of people who are,
Okay.
who can speak to these things from all different angles. So we don't give the answers in the humanities.
Yeah.
We ask the questions.
This is okay. You're the perfect guest for this show. Because this is about, I'm going to apply it to myself, because this is called Ascent Life and Living Your Best Life. And it's like, well, I don't know how to live. I don't know. That's why I started the podcast. Like I'm trying to find that out. I'm asking people their definitions of success, how they live their best lives, what are their purpose, so that eventually we can listen to all of the feedback and all the podcasts and come up with our own determinations, our own answers, right? So I mean, is that kind of what you do in the humanities?
You know what? It
Professionals
is. Well, it is, and you have to know that it's okay to disagree.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can hear something that someone who is an expert and hear what they say, but if it doesn't ring true to you, and maybe that's a little tricky because we have all like alternative facts and whatever that's going on now, but you can learn from experts. But and this is what I personally do, is I like to hear from a bunch of different people on a bunch of different sort of approaches to a question. And then I'm like, I'm not smart enough to figure this out by myself, but what you said right there really makes sense to me. And what you said right there, I'm actually going to steal that because that was really brilliant. And I think that that's really the direction that me as a person, that's where I want to go. And that's the path I want to follow. And it's very different for everybody because we're all coming from our own set of lived experiences, right?
100%, yeah.
You know, what I've lived through and what you've lived through are very different.
Yeah.
Yet here we are together in the same trailer.
Trailer. Yeah. Podcast trailer, which is great.
Love it.
Fantastic.
Love it.
So you say your dad was an engineer or just had that engineering mind?
No, he's a mechanical engineer.
Mechanical engineer.
So
okay.
yeah, his degree is in mechanical engineering. He speaks machine.
Yeah. Okay. So you're a kid growing up, and at what point are you like, oh, the humanities are where is what speaks to me. Like I can get a job doing that.
No. Well, as a child, I mean, I was just going to be famous. That's just what I was going to be, right? Well, it's like every child.
Yeah.
So I graduated from. Sorry about the microphone. I graduated from Weber State, and I have a musical theater degree, right?
Yes.
And so I grew up in a house that was very musical, that we learned to read early, and we read often. We read all kinds of things. We were performers. We never pass up an opportunity to use an audience if you have it, kind of thing. And so it's what put me through college. It's how I got my degree. And when I was in it and doing it, I never thought, oh, what am I going to do? How am I going to make a living doing this? I was just going to be famous, and it was all going to be fine. I mean, this goes back.
It's so easy. You just everybody's famous.
Right. I mean, I'm envisioning like when I'm on the Tonight Show, what am I going to say in my interview? And I'm roller skating in my...
We're going to get you there. So
only if I do something drastically wrong.
Oh, no. Yeah, that would be bad.
All publicity is good publicity,
but your
right?
background was performing arts, I guess.
Yes, okay. It really was. And I have siblings that have also, been really involved in the performing arts. My older sister runs the Eccles Art Center in Logan, and I've always sort of chased her. So whatever she did, I wanted to do, and that kind of thing. So I did that, and I got through college and did all of that, and then just happened to see this job. Well, my husband actually saw this job announcement. Utah Humanities Council at the time was hiring an administrative assistant. I'm like, I can run an office. It's no big deal. So I went in having absolutely no clue what the difference was between arts and humanities, and I was educated very quickly, but very kindly and very well. Yeah. And then and it opened my eyes to this whole world of organizations and people and things that are happening all the time, and I just had no idea because my view of the world was like this, and then it opened up to like this. And it's not just people in Utah that are doing this, but there are people all over the country who are doing this. Yeah, and I went to my first National Humanities Conference in Washington, D.C., and I was there with people from all over the country who were doing the same work. Yeah. It was mind-blowing.
Like there's people like me out there.
I know. It's like I found, you find your community.
You do.
You find your people, and people who are committed and doing this work because they love it, not because they make a lot of money. And I feel like that's kind of where that's what roots me is, and my husband's kind of the same because he works in higher education. I don't know that I could work for a corporation because I don't know if it would feed my soul in the same way.
So you don't speak corporate?
No, but my son does. Oh, my son does.
Yeah.
So, he does data analytics, and he's great. He's a corporate guy, but he married an artist. So I feel like there's
you need the balance. That yin yang is important.
You do. You do.
Yeah, I was in the corporate world so similar background. I was a drama kid in high school, actor in my early teens. Was in an after school special called Miracles and Other Wonders. I was Ricky Saved, and Miracles and Other. Look it up on YouTube.
That is so cool.
It's Miracles and Other Wonders, the Ricky Saved episode. I'm trying to get it to be the most played of all of the Miracles and Other Wonders.
He'll put the link. He'll put the link in the show notes.
100%. But I was successful in retail to the point where I started going up like a corporate ladder, and you learn all the lingo and all the things. And I'm like, this is not sitting well with me. And then I've struggled to find my spot in life until honest to God, I had to make a decision between like a job and pursuing podcasting full time, and I'm like halfway through my life, and I'm like, I can't stop podcasting. So I'm gonna just have to do the podcasting and see if I can make a run at it and make a living at it. And that's how I got here. And it's interesting that you say that, whether you make a lot of money in humanities or not, but you get this pull towards something, and it feels like that's what you have to do.
Yeah, it is. And me, I'm always so curious, not only about the broader world, but also about myself. It's like, well, why do I do that? What makes me do this? I mean, I am the one who's taking all of which Disney princess are you? And, which national park are you? I mean, I take all of those quizzes because I'm always.
They're 100% accurate.
Right? I mean, I'm going to base my life decisions on these quizzes.
Yeah.
But I'm always interested and keen to understand why I do the things that I do, and why I think the way that I think, and why things are important to me, and why I get so upset when things are out of alignment with that. And so I have a tendency then in my professional life, I'm really happy that I have that opportunity to also, it's like, well, why do you think that way?
Yeah.
How did you come to that? Where did that come from? How do you think that way? And so to be able to listen, and listening is kind of a key component of it, to be able to listen and to learn. I'm always wanting to know why. And I'm never smart. Like I said, I'm never smart enough to figure stuff out on my own. So I have to hear what other people think about it.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you think about it? First it's like, oh, it's my sister. What do you think about that? How are you handling that? What's your opinion? And listen to listen to the array of feedback that I get. And then I can like, okay, well, I see where I'm going. I see where I stand.
Yeah.
I see how I feel about that.
So working in humanities for a long time, decades.
A long time.
Decades. What has it taught you about people?
That people see themselves in Technicolor and the rest of the world sees them in black and white. So whatever, So whatever you are doing and whatever you are going through, I mean, that is the biggest thing. It is either the greatest success or the biggest challenge. But everybody around you, they're like, oh yeah, I see you're going through that thing, but it doesn't hit the same. So whatever someone is going through, whether it's good or bad, you have to know and respect that that's their experience, and what they're telling you, it's not right or wrong. It's just them. That's what they're doing. And so I love it most when I am proven wrong about preconceived notions that I have of people. So if I meet somebody and I just as we all do, we're trained, it's, with their studies about how how evolution has worked. So we know we can recognize threat and whatever.
Well, we do see patterns.
We do. And so it's like, I meet somebody, I've automatically made some assumptions about who they are, maybe which political side of the aisle they stand on. Yep. And then when I'm proven wrong, it is awesome. I'm like, I had no idea. I never would have guessed that for you.
Yeah.
And then I'm always like, why do I automatically make these like knee-jerk assumptions about people? And then as you get to talk to people and you hear their story and you learn their story and you understand their story, then their story becomes part of your story. And I'm a lot less likely to hate on someone. It's like, well, I know where you're coming from. I know why you do that.
That's how we evolved as humans we're not trying to be mean to others. We just have seen patterns throughout in our community, and we're like, we know this type of person will do this, and then so we project that onto someone who may share those same characteristics, and then we find out, oh, they're not like that, and then it becomes really interesting.
Right. And then it's surprising and wonderful and multi-layered, because none of us are just what people think we are on the surface.
Yeah.
We all have battles and hopes and dreams and things that we're dealing with every minute, every day. And again, so the things that I'm going through are super important and super bright in my mind. You might be like, yeah, but you're not going to care. You're not going to care in the same way that I care, because it's me. Because I'm the center. It's all about me. Yeah. I'm the center of my universe. Right.
Well, if everyone is the center of their own universe, and so, God, that's hard.
It is hard. And then you add in all the layers of complexity where for a number of reasons, we've shifted into sort of doing groups of people and lumping people into groups instead of getting back down into the individual and the relationship, and really, trying to understand. It's just like, oh, I know who you are and what you're about, so I don't even need to talk to you. Yeah. Rather than being brave and having that conversation.
Yeah, and I don't think our political culture has helped that. It's very grouping.
It is, and it's intentionally done that way. People are making a lot of money on that.
Yeah. Oh, God, that's gross.
Yeah.
Okay. It is. So let's go deep on this. What is your definite major purpose?
It's interesting. It depends on what stage of life I'm in, right? So if you would have asked me what my life purpose was when I was a kid, and I'm skating on my roller skates in my basement, thinking I'm going to be in the next Xanadu movie because
that's a throwback. You don't know what Xanadu is. Look it up.
Go look
like
it up.
That, yeah.
It's depending on which camp you're in, it's either the best movie of all time or the worst movie of all time. I happen to be a fan.
Good.
I love Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah.
May she rest in peace. So at that point in my life, it was very much, again, I'm going to be famous. And that sort of traveled into high school and even into my college career. It's like my purpose in life was to be an artist, to do really great work, to entertain, to perform, to make people feel something through performance, right? And then as I got married and had children, my purpose became taking care of my family.
Yeah.
It became really just, I am this nurturer. I want to make sure that I'm giving these children the care and the love and the safety that they need to become well-adjusted, critical thinking human beings.
Yeah.
Right? But then now, as I'm getting to be of a certain age, I really kind of feel that my purpose is to carry on the legacy of my mother and my two grandmothers who have passed. They were all three very different and very strong in different ways, but they all bring elements that I'm just like, I don't want to lose that. So my mother was so kind and she was so compassionate. And so I try really hard to treat everybody with kindness, even sometimes it's not super easy.
Right.
She was so much better at it than I was.
Yeah.
Right. And so I often think when I'm having a moment when I'm feeling unkind towards someone, I have a moment and I'm like, okay, Mom, help me through this one. Help me deal with this person, because I know you would find something in them to love.
Have you
Right?
read this book yet? It's Inner Excellence.
No.
So Jim Murphy it's speaking of kindness. So Jim Murphy is the grandson or great grandson, I can't remember, of a Japanese warrior, the samurai. And he's an ex-baseball player, Major League Baseball player, and he coaches teams and corporate places how to succeed in life. And you would think it's some rah-rah, whatever, corporate talk, but he leads with love. You have to lead with love. Love destroys the ego is the argument of the book. And so whenever you're like, how do I talk to this person who I completely disagree with, or how do I face a fear, he suggests you have to go back to love. Tell yourself to come from a place of love so that your ego is not in the way.
Yeah. So in some ways you're removing yourself. You're no longer in Technicolor, right? So when you're looking at somebody else and then you're trying to have that love, that empathy, whatever kindness, then you're trying to see them in Technicolor the same way, the same way that it is. So, I try to carry that on and try to care for. The other thing, so my mother was a special education teacher for most of her career, and before
she was an angel.
Yes, literally.
Yeah.
And she became the state's autism specialist for a number of years. And it was, I remember coming home from college, we'd be doing like a Halloween party or something, and she'd have some of her students were there. This was a different time. I don't know that would fly now, but it's like she knew the parents of those families needed a break. And she's just like, oh, you just come. We got 6 kids in my family. You just come. Right. You'll just be one of them. We'll just party and you do that. But she always pulled people out of the shadows and out of the corners and brought them into the light. So and it's really interesting because as a teenager, as a child, she suffered from crippling anxiety, like to the fact when she went to the grocery store, her heart would pound and she'd be so nervous because she knew she was going to have to talk to the person. It's not like now you can go through a whole store experience and not ever interact with a human. But she would get so physically tied up because she knew she was going to have to talk. And this is a part, I never knew that. That was long before.
No, but that's interesting because I hate that now. Because when I go to the store now and everyone's got earbuds in.
Yeah.
And they don't look at I grew up in retail. I grew up in grocery. And that's literally like my job is to say hi to everyone in the grocery store. And then the cashiers knew everyone by name. It was like a neighborhood grocer. Yeah. And the baggers knew the best people by name. And now you check yourself out. You don't talk to anyone. You're insular. And I don't know how is that affecting us as a society? I don't think that's good.
Right. You can even go to a restaurant and have a whole restaurant experience where you don't interact with anyone because you can get in there, you can do your order on your phone.
Right.
And then, somebody may bring you your food, or you may walk up to the counter to get it, and then you pay on your phone, and then you leave, and you can do a whole, what used to be a very, this is where you talk to people because food breaks down barriers like few things do.
Yes. 100%. Yes.
You break bread with someone, you share a meal, and it levels the playing ground. A food is a great equalizer, right?
Yeah.
But so we don't even have that anymore, and people are just grabbing stuff. They're grabbing their mobile order and going home and eating it, or they're having it delivered to their house from, DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever. And so we've lost that. We've lost a couple of things.
I blame COVID. I seriously do.
I blame COVID, and I blame our phones.
Oh, 100% our phones. That's true. It's our phones.
COVID brought us all in.
Pushed a little that direction because we couldn't talk to each other. But the kids that are coming out of that age, I've got a stepdaughter who's that age, and that's like, there's some missing social skills there.
Yeah.
That sucks. And I don't know how to return that, get that time back. You know?
I don't either. And I don't know how to fix it. Except through the humanities. If you can get through and you can kind of bust through that initial barrier. I have some of my two children, they're in their 20s, and they have some friends that if I see them and I talk to them and I try to have a conversation with them, they won't look me in the eye. And you can see they're physically uncomfortable. It's just like, why is she talking to me? Can you just send me a text? Which I'm fine, which I love to do. If I need a quick answer, I think a text is better than a long-winded conversation. Yeah. But so it's a couple of things. But until we notice it and realize it, and it's those small moments of when you're standing in line at the grocery store and there's a person standing behind you, and you just have sort of a quick little interaction with them about whatever. It's like, oh, I didn't know apples were on sale. That's great. Whatever. And it's also the same thing as we're never bored anymore.
Like the art of small talk.
Yeah.
Right. And boredom is important.
Because that's the creative, it's the deep thinking, it's the creative. It's when you can really kind of go in and poke around in your brain and look and see what's there. But if you've always got something going.
/ productive. And so if you are literally the second you're bored, and then you go like this.
The second I'm in line, the second I'm at a stoplight.
Right.
Although I don't do that if I'm the first person at the stoplight, because I don't want to be the one that the right turns green and I'm still just sitting there. And this is terrible, but I just got a new car. And my car will actually tell me if the car in front of me is pulling forward I haven't started moving, which is really embarrassing and really terrible. But it's just every spare moment we have. Okay, so this,
because we're going to have self-driving, we have this big, I said AI earlier, everything is very autonomous moving forward. What are you doing to keep us human, to keep the humanities alive? Because we're in your organization works off grants. There could be some grant funding issues. So how do we, but the more we move into this autonomous world, the human factor is going to be a bigger deal. So how do we deal with that? How are you dealing with that?
Right. And so, obviously in COVID, we had to switch and do, all kinds of virtual stuff, which was great in the moment when we had no other choice. And even something like this, where this is going to have a life beyond this moment because it's going to be online, it's going to be available, it's going to be through podcast platforms. And so you can access it there. But really the thing that really is important for us is that person-to-person exchange of ideas. There is nothing that can replace being in the same room with someone, looking them in the eye and speaking. Your conversation changes. It's completely different. If you and I were on Zoom right now, I might be checking my email while we're talking. I might be thinking about other things. I might, you know what I mean?
Dare.
It's like, oh, well, I got this meeting coming up I got to prepare for.
This is so boring. Holding people's attention is really hard because of that. Yeah.
It's hard, and because you can do it and not get caught for the most part. But if I'm sitting face to face with you, I can't be on my phone. I can't be looking anywhere. It's like, no, I have to focus in on you, and I have to have that. And so if you can do that, and it starts at the individual level, but also sort of more, larger groups, like what we do with most of our programming, it brings groups of people physically together where they experience something together, and then they have the opportunity to exchange the ideas.
Yeah.
Right. And so, it seems so fundamental and so simple, but even just getting people to come out and participate is more and more challenging.
Odd that humans have to relearn that.
It is. And odd how quickly we forgot it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why podcasting is doing so well.
Yeah.
It's conversation based.
Yeah, it's great.
And now everything's video. And so you can watch that. But people want to be on podcasts. And I think that's part of the reason why. So they can connect with.
Well, and it's
tell a
beautiful
story.
too, because you can go deeper, right? So if you're doing something that's just like, say on social media, you've got like a really super quick, you just have to have a short little sound bite and you just say your thing and you move on. But if you're actually engaged and you're having a conversation, you can go deeper and you can get down below some of the surface stuff, which is really, it's exciting and interesting and fascinating to learn what makes people tick and to learn about what their thoughts are and how they're approaching things. So
I'm glad you think so, because I do, and I mean I read a lot of books, and I've read a lot of like self-help type books and a lot of philosophy books and business books and marketing books, and I'm like, yeah, why do we do the things we do? It's very interesting to me. So on that note, I want to ask, from your perspective in the humanities, how do you define success?
That is a really good question, and something that we've kind of grappled with internally just a little bit, because you would think that success would mean like we're doing more, right? It's just like we're doing more events in more places and just, like scattering the whole state with, thousands of programs and that kind of thing, which is awesome. And there is nothing wrong with that. But really the approach that we have taken and what success looks like for us is if we do our thing and then our partners become so successful that they may not even need us in the same way anymore, but it's like kicking the bird out of the nest where they can fly, right? We really want to build this strong cultural infrastructure of the humanities all over the state. So if something were to happen to Utah Humanities, knock on wood, that there is still, the legacy will remain. There will be people who see and understand the value of the humanities and the way people interact with each other. So helping our partners know and recognize their own strength and serve their audiences better, that's really what success looks like for us. It's no longer about like numbers of events and how many butts did you get in the seats this year. It's really just like, how are we helping to reach the communities, but doing it through the partners that are already there so that they can continue to grow and thrive. So
that's your work. Is that you as well? Do you define success through your work? Or
success, I just need to make it through another day, man.
I've heard that definition of success, where it is, can you live in the moment? Yeah. Can you be happy in the moment? Because that is true success. And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting, okay, I don't know. I kind of need cash, so there's that part of it. And I have family to keep alive and stuff. And so like, I don't know how you define success on that side of things, but I thought it was interesting that it's like, well, how well can you be present in the moment? Yeah.
And I am so terrible at it. I am so terrible about it because, so it's my progression. I'm like, so I'm in the moment, but I'm thinking about the 10 things I did wrong, the 5 minutes before. And then I'm looking ahead to, and then I've got these 15 things coming up, and I want to make sure I'm not doing the same, I'm not making the same mistakes that I just made. And so it's really hard to just kind of to be in the moment and realize, okay, this is where we are right now. And this is okay. And maybe that didn't go to plan, but that's okay. What did I learn from it? And then just leave it and move forward. So it's hard. I haven't mastered it at all.
What's that called? What's it called when you're socially aware of, there's a word for that. And I can't remember it when, I can't, but yeah, I feel like my kids have that as well, where they're just, they're very tuned into what's going on around them. In fact, they're quiet and they're watching like what's going on. And just because you're quiet doesn't mean you don't know what, like you're not paying attention. Sometimes those quiet ones are the most dangerous because they are paying attention, where the other ones maybe aren't paying attention. Okay, so this is an interesting question I have too on here. From what you've seen, what do you think our purpose is as humans?
To not destroy each other.
Okay, great idea.
I mean, seriously. It's like it was like, we didn't come this far just to come this far, right? You see that on a lot of...
I'm going to have to argue with it because it feels like we've done that since the beginning of time. So we've tried really hard. We try really hard to destroy each other.
We have, and I mean, it's evolution. It's in our nature, but I would hope that our mental capacity has evolved enough that we can see and recognize. I mean, as a whole, if we don't survive, we're all gone.
Done, yeah.
Right? And so you would think that in an evolutionary mindset, we would protect the species, right? Yeah. But then how do you account for the virus that gets into your body and then potentially kills the host? I mean, how does that virus go on and live? I think that's a really poor business plan for viruses, FYI. So, but it's like, how have we come this far and still not learned lessons from the past? How do we still not do that?
A great question, because I will read one of my favorite books is Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, 2,000 years old. Mm-hmm. Same effing problems.
Oh,
like the
100%.
same issues. As far as humanity goes, humans go, he's still dealing with ego and war and betrayal and all the stuff is this. It's all the same problems.
Yeah,
like we haven't learned in 2,000 years, and it probably taken. And he's like he didn't come up with this either. It's just he's just noting it, right? Like that's also based off of thousands of years of human history. And he's like, yeah, this is still going on, And then 2,000 years later, we're like, yeah, it's still going on. That's how I read the Bible too, when I read the Bible, it's like it's just a reflection of history. It's like pro tip, commandment number 1, like don't kill, or I don't know which one's which, but like don't kill anybody, it's just a pro tip we've learned as humans. Like your life isn't going to be good if you steal and do these things. But I'm like, well, I don't know. It's been 2,000 years since that manuscript came out and we haven't really...
We haven't figured it out quite
yet.
We're
still fighting over all the same questions.
We're doing Super Bowl commercials about it now, and it's like, come on, people. No, but it's very true, and I don't have the answer for it because as long as there are people, there's always people feel like they have to have the power, and once they get the power, they want more power, and it's just sort of that insatiable need to have and to conquer. That not everybody has, but I feel like enough people have that it stays a problem.
Yeah, that sucks.
Problematic.
As humans, we have to do better. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of answered this last question already, but I do want to go back to I think it was your mom or both moms, your mom and your grandma?
Well, it's my mother and my 2 grandmothers.
Your 2 grandmothers?
Right? So there's my mom. Well, did you have a question though? I don't mean to.
Yeah. How do you want to be remembered? And so you're saying I want to be remembered kind of like how they were, how you're remembering them.
Right. And so again, going back to my mother's kindness, I want people to feel like that I'm someone that they can come to, that I'm a friend. I mean, I love to, and I've done this my whole life. I love to kind of find the people that aren't maybe in the main group and just wanting to hang out with them and just be like, I mean, when I go to an official event for Utah Humanities, I seek out like the wait staff, like the people who are refilling the meatballs on the buffet. Yeah. And I love to strike up a conversation with the people who aren't in the spotlight. Right. And so just like my mother, I want to pull people out of the shadows and make them feel like they're seen and they're heard and they're loved. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's kind of critically important. And it's the way I approach the world. I have a smile that's so big that when I smile, my eyes disappear, which was a source of frustration for any photographer that I've ever had to sit for. And they're like, I can't see your eyes. It's like, I know it doesn't. There's nothing I can do. They just disappear because I don't know how to smile without my whole face. It's just something like that. And then my mother's mother was just strong and resilient and had some crazy challenges through her life, but she was so brilliant and she was so committed to continually feeding her own mind. So she was always learning. And then my father's mother was just compassionate and kind and was really good at food.
Oh, really?
She was an amazing cook. Yeah. And it was sort of her.
You have
her
the recipes?
Actually, I do have some of them.
Yeah.
Her love language was food.
Yeah.
And that was how she cared and nurtured for people.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. All the food as a love language. I think it works.
How do I want to be remembered? For making the perfect cheesecake. Thank you very much.
Yes.
My legacy on a plate.
That might go further than someone donating a lot of money because people remember Aunt so-and-so made the best cheesecake, it's like they remember that. So
again, food is the great equalizer.
It is the great equalizer.
Yeah. It touches all the senses.
Interesting. Is there anything else you want to add to what we should know on how to live our best life, like day to day?
And I would just say remain hopeful, right? And so even if you just take 1 minute in one day to put your phone back in your pocket when you are standing in line and at least just make eye contact with one other human being. Yeah. Just take that moment to remember what it's like to interact with someone. Because it's a learned skill.
Yeah.
And just getting back to that. And if you can make that a habit for yourself, one person at a time, and grow on that and build on that.
I also think you'd make a really good famous person. Because
Thank you.
Because you would be nice to the crew. See,
100%. That's like I hear stories about Tom Hanks and how, he's the consummate
he
professional.
Is he mean to the crew? Or is he
no,
good
he's awesome.
Oh, he is? Okay.
And they're like, oh, we can't wait to work with the guy. And it's interesting because living in Utah, of course, there's a lot of filming that happens in Utah.
Yeah.
And so, with my work, I occasionally get to go to different parts of the state and like stay in small hotels and talk with people who are in these hotels. And if it's a filming location, they will tell stories about the celebrities who came in and the ones that were nice and just like regular people and the ones who were not.
Not so nice. Yeah. And we know if you're not nice.
Well,
yeah.
and it comes from just my history of working with Utah Humanities. I came on as the administrative assistant. So I made copies. I ordered toilet paper. I did filing. I did all of the grunt work. And so I know what it's like to do that. And I also know how important it is when that stuff doesn't get done.
Right.
So I'm a player's coach. I see the value of everybody that's a part of the team. Yeah, I do.
Okay, so if you were going to be cast in a film, movie, television show, which one would you love? What would be your preference?
Oh, that could go in so many different ways. I actually, in this moment, I'd like to be in Thelma and Louise.
Wow. We're going off a cliff.
We're burning it all down. We're burning it down.
Wow, that's not good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's fun while it lasts, I tell you.
Well, I mean, it's just like sometimes we have those days. It's just like, why are we just even doing this? We're just going to go. We're just going to go off the cliff. Oh. But it's going to be a grand ride and a grand adventure before.
And we're going to have fun.
Before you get there.
Yeah. Thanks so much for taking the time to answer these questions that are important human questions, I feel like, right?
Right.
That you get to deal with on the day. This is your job, which that blows my mind. Like,
love it.
What, you make a living at this? How cool is that?
Yes, you can.
So,
yes, you can.
Thanks, Jodi, so much. And how can people find more information about Utah Humanities and what it is that you do?
Awesome. So utahhumanities.org. So I said that really fast. Yeah. Utah Humanities, 2 H's in the middle, .org. We're also on Instagram and Facebook. So you can find us there. Just search Utah Humanities and we'll pop right on up.
Yeah, you really do. So
we do.
The SEO's working, whoever's in charge of that. So.
Thanks for that algorithm. That's a good one.
Yeah. Every now and then we like the algorithm. So
right.
I do have wisdom from the pages before we jump out of here. This is diving into chapter 10 of Inner Excellence. The name of the chapter is The Hero and the Goat. And this is the difference between dreams and goals. He writes on here, the author, again, the name is Jim Murphy. Dreams are feelings you can control. Goals are outcomes you cannot, at least not completely. Living your dreams means experiencing the amazing feelings you get, such as a passion and love and being caught up in the moment, while you pursue your goals. It is not based on the outcome of your goal. Living your dreams, he says, means pursuing your biggest goals, embracing all the adversity that comes with it, and dancing along the way. It's the loving the journey more than the outcome. So, yeah, great book right here.
That's brilliant.
Love it. Okay. So again, utahhumanities.org if you want to learn more about what they do there. And thanks, Jodi, for hanging out with us. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Ascent Life. We'll be back tomorrow with the local entrepreneur, founder, and owner of Nebu Clothing, deep thinker and lover of good spirits, as in alcohol. So love Nate Davenport. If you made it this far in the program, please subscribe to me on YouTube at rbrandonlong. And for your daily dose of visual inspiration, follow Ascent Life on Instagram. Thanks for joining me on this journey as we all learn how to level up and become the best version of ourselves. No wasted ability. We'll catch you tomorrow on Ascent Life. Thanks, everyone. Yay.